What no spend challenge is the best? I know that's the question you're asking yourself. I want to try this, but which one is the best? We're going to talk about what the best one is. So stick around for that. That's going to be towards the end of the video. You don't want to miss what we think the best one is. Hey, Frugal Peeps, Joel here. Flying solo today, and Christy's kind of under the weather, so we left her out of the video because she didn't want to be coughing all the way through it. But hey, today we're going to be talking about no spend challenges. If you've done any searches on the internet, on the interwebs for the month of January, you're probably knowing that there are a lot of people out there that are doing what they call no spend Januaries. And so we're going to talk about those today, what they are, how they work, what parameters people set, kind of things like that. But settle back, buckle up, and let's do this. First, we want to explain why you might consider a no spend challenge. Now, also a word of warning here that you don't want to overbuy before or after a no spend challenge. That kind of defeats the purpose of doing a no spend challenge. If you're going to buy a whole bunch of stuff, frivolous things before or after your challenge, then that's kind of negating what you're doing. So don't do that. You're just kind of going through the motions if you do that. And secondly, you need to decide what you consider as spending. Now, as we go through these, we'll talk about how we do it and what our parameters are. Everybody sets up parameters. Whether they tell you they do or not, they do. They do set up parameters as far as their no spend challenges go. And so we're going to talk about those as we go through each one. But you need to decide what you consider as spending, such as buying groceries, gas, electric bill, those kinds of things that you know you're going to have to pay every month. And they come up at different times in the month. You can't do those all at the beginning or the ending of a month to set those up for a no spend challenge where you don't spend anything throughout the month. So you need to decide in your own mind what you're comfortable with, saying this still counts. If I spend this still counts as a no spend challenge. Like I said, we'll talk about what we consider those things to be, as well as we get into the categories here. All right, so let's get to it. So what are the no spend challenges that we've seen as we've kind of perused people's channels and as they do no spend challenges? What are the different categories of no spend challenges? Now, the first one is no spend years. Now, that would be the whole year where you don't buy frivolous things like some people would set up and say, okay, well, my electric bill is not a frivolous thing. That's something I need to have so I can have electricity and heat and cooling in my house. And so that's not counted as kind of frivolous spending. So that doesn't negate a no spend year. Is your electric bill, things like that. Buying groceries, things that are necessities of life. You can't go a whole year without buying groceries. So unless you have a pretty big stockpile, which very few of us do have that kind of stockpile. But so for a no spend year, you might say, okay, I'm not going to buy things that are out of the ordinary, like my electricity, my groceries, gas for my car, things like that. The things that you might consider frivolous spending would be like cable packages, eating out, things like that, that you might consider frivolous spending that you don't necessarily have to do. Spotify or Apple Music, things like that would probably sometimes be considered. That's totally a judgment call for you, whether you consider that frivolous spending or not. Going out to, like movies or theme parks. We love to go to theme parks, so but we do consider that frivolous spending. It's not something we have to do to live our lives. Sometimes I think it is, but Christy would probably tell you that about me too. But those are the things you need to decide what you are and are not going to count as frivolous spending, so that you can set out the parameters for your no spend year. But people go a whole year without doing any kind of frivolous spending. All right, so the second category is a no spend month, and it kind of has the same parameters, but like we said, if you do a no spend month, now we've tried this, and for me, it didn't work out. I'll be the first one to tell you that I didn't enjoy that. Saying that there were certain things we couldn't do throughout the month. And we didn't do the thing that some people do where they buy a whole lot of stuff beforehand or after. We didn't do that. We just set out to say no frivolous spending in an entire month. And I didn't really cotton to that idea. So that didn't really work for us. So we wanted to try something different. So for no spend months, again, you have to set out the parameters, what you feel like would be non-frivolous spending and frivolous spending, and that would be where your cutoffs are as far as whether or not you made the no spend month or not. And then the third category would be no spend days. Now this is what we do because for me, once we started with the no spend days, I counted it as a challenge, and so for me, I like challenges. And so it was easier for us to say, okay, we're going to do some no spend days, set out a particular amount of no spend days for the month, and see if we can beat that. And then if we did beat it, we'd increase it each month as we went through the year. So like for January, we start out with 12 no spend days. That would be our goal. And then if we made that in January, then February would be 13, on and on and on throughout the year. And so for me, that came out, okay, this is a challenge. Okay, I can do this. And so there are things that I would put off on certain days. And sometimes I ask Christy, hey, how many no spend days we have this month? And she would tell me, and I'd say, okay, then I guess we need to find a couple more days in the month so we can try to make this goal. And so, that's kind of what has really worked for us is the no spend days throughout the month. And like I said, we set out goals for that. And as I said, for January, we set out 12 days, no spend days for January to see if we can make that again. It's usually where we start, regardless of where we end up at the end of the year. We always start in January with 12 and try to go from there. And I've kind of expanded this a little bit as far as my health journey goes. If you've seen any of our health content over on our Fit for the Long Run channel, if you haven't, go over there and check it out after this video. As far as Dr. Pepper days or I call them no Dr. Pepper days or no soda days. I do the same thing throughout the month and set a certain number of days that I'm not going to drink soda that month. And it kind of works the same way. But anyway, so we do the no spend days, and it's worked out pretty well for us. We do say things like groceries, electric bill, all those, anything that we have to pay monthly on a monthly basis that helps us live. We don't count that as spending. And so we talk about frivolous spending when we talk about spending. It's like going out to eat, going to theme parks, going to the movies, all those things that you can live without. That's what we consider frivolous spending, which would count against a no spend day for us. So we don't count any kind of groceries or any kind of household items, things like that, things that are pertinent to. Now, if we were to buy a TV, that would be spending. That might be a household item, but that's frivolous spending, something we don't need. And so that's how we kind of count those things as far as our no spend days goes. But everybody's different. You can probably tune in to 100 different channels on YouTube and find 100 different ways that people do no spend challenges. But that's kind of how we set up. Now, I know you're wanting to know, now, which one do we recommend? Do we recommend no spend year, no spend month, no spend days? I know you're probably going to think that we recommend the no spend days because that's what's worked for us. But that may not work for everybody. And so what we recommend, the one that we recommend that you do is you do the one that you're going to stick with it's going to work the best for you. So if you can do it, you can stick with it, and it works the best for you, that's the one you should do. Do the one that's going to work and the one that you're going to actually do. When people ask me what's the best, I'm a runner. If you haven't seen that, go to our Fit for the Long Run and see some of my nerdy runner videos over there. But if people ask me a lot of time, what's the best running strategy. If you're training for 5K or 10K or a half marathon or a marathon, what's the best running strategy that you can do? And I always tell people it's the one you stick with, the one that you'll do. If you're willing to do it and it works for you and your family, then that's the one that you should do. Don't take our advice for anything. We do the no spend days. If you can do the no spend months and it works for you, then that's what we want you to do. If you can do the no spend years, then that's the one you should do. If you can do the no spend days, then do that one. But whatever works for you, works for your family, that's the one that we think would be the best. If it's your first time, though, we highly recommend that you start slowly with no spend days and work your way up to months or years, kind of jumping in head first with a no spend year without actually doing some no spend days first. It's kind of like running the marathon before doing anything else. I wouldn't suggest that, running a marathon without running any kind of other races. Don't jump in for the marathon first. Jump in for the 5K, which will be the no spend days, and just kind of see how you like it and how it kind of fits for you. But comment below and let us know if you've ever done a no spend challenge, and if so, how did it go? And how long did you go without spending any money? We've gone several days without doing any frivolous spending. I don't know what our record is now, but how many days in a row we've done it, but we usually don't get a whole week because we like to go to Dunkin' on Saturdays. So, but let us know in the comments if you've ever done one. If so, how long did you go without spending any money? And what did you learn from the experience? That's really the thing that we want to know. What did you learn from the experience of doing the no spend challenge? But that's going to do it today for saving money on the long run. I'm Joel, flying solo today. And don't forget, it's a long run. Give yourself a little grace.